Are you living in Indianapolis or thinking about moving there for work, but the idea of the city and the busy traffic and the noise and the additional cost just to live there doesn't really appeal to you? Well, today's video, we're going to be talking about what it looks like to live outside of Indianapolis and then commute in the city, and to show you that it's really not that far away and kind of what you can get for your money. And so today we're going to be doing a real world example of a property that we have for sale right now. This is a 9.9 acre property south of Indiana in Indianapolis in Brown County. It's 9.9 acres listed for $125,000, and this property is very competitively priced. So I do think it creates a pretty good example of what you can kind of expect when looking for land in this area. And keep in mind too, there's a lot of different lifestyles even within the rural communities, but this one, it falls within the category of being a subdivision property. So it's an established subdivision. But what it gets you is it gets you private access to a lake and a community lot. So let's take a look at it a bit closer here. So this is what we're looking at. We have two parcels totaling 9.9 acres. And this is a property with plenty of road frontage. I believe it has over 1,000 feet of road frontage. And then we also have a power pole right there kind of at the bend of the street. And this is called Bittersweet Lakes. This is a private community lake, and you can see that there's a lot specifically near the front of the subdivision that's going to provide you that access. And this property has a road frontage that's maintained, and it also has a couple of draws here. You can kind of see the terrain in a 3D view to get a lay of the land. There's a couple of draws where seasonal creeks will come through, and then you have a couple elevated points for your build sites. And then when we're looking at the distance, this is a property that is just about 40 minutes to get into the city, about an hour to get into the middle of Indianapolis, to downtown. But once you get out here, it's a pretty easy drive. And this is the location on Google Maps. So you can kind of see here where it's set up. It's in the town of, well, it's closest to the town of Spearsville. The address is going to be a Trafalgar address. This is a property where you're living rurally. There's just a few neighbors. There's no real adjacent neighbors because you have plenty of land, plenty of space to work with. You're close to lakes. If you like fishing or hunting or being outside, I mean, you're 12 minutes away from Sweetwater Lake and Cordier Lake. So plenty of activities to do out here. But again, you're just not looking at a very far distance to actually get into the city. And a lot of our buyers, especially when it comes to vacant land, I found they want to be able to commute. That's really important to people. So this is one of those properties that accomplishes that, which is why I'm highlighting it today. Of course, we want to sell the property, but in general, we're looking to be looking for properties that people actually want. And we're finding that, proximity to major cities is a big thing. So with this property, again, a close distance to these lakes. If you look out here, this is really, it's beautiful country out here. You have a vibrant green, easy roads. People live pretty quiet lives. This entrance point here is a dirt road, pretty well maintained with some gravel, it looks like. And then once you get out to the highway, usually you have your 2-lane highways. Let's go take a look at Spearsville close by. So pretty old street view here, but this is how I look around. So if you're shopping for land, I'm generally trying to drop my Google Maps guy down on the ground to get an idea of what it's like. And it is pretty quiet out here. You have a lot of quiet roads, open spaces, greenery. I mean, it's really pleasant. And if you're looking for a rural lifestyle, a lot of people live out in these areas. A couple other things to note too is kind of what are your neighbors doing as far as their lifestyle goes. Sometimes you can see if they're more into agriculture or livestock, or some neighborhoods people are more, they're running garages or shops out of their homes. So depending on the land use for the specific area, you're going to kind of find more of your niche, within the rural countryside. But a subdivision like this, let's go back to land ID real quick. So this is a platted subdivision, which means you can see the lot lines are all set up. There's a name. This is called Bittersweet Lakes. And, this is where people are going to come out to basically have their getaway, their country home, their retirement home. And, people are out here to live residentially. But you can see if you kind of come out on the map a little bit, some people actually have, some acreage with, a farmstead or something like that, they'll have, animals. Some people have big backyards. It really kind of just depends on, again, the type of living that you're looking for outside of the city. To show you more information and to kind of give you an insight, maybe it's helpful for some of you who are buyers looking for land. I know that information is really important, but it's also kind of hard to figure out what information really that you should focus on when it comes to buying land. You have a lot of questions. So one thing I want to point to you guys is this is something we include in all of our listings, which is our buyer due diligence report. And you can actually just copy and paste this if you want to apply it to any other property. This is just a Google Doc that we use. And you can see here we cover everything, like way more in depth than I think I really see most other places. So, I mean, we're covering things like taxes and liens. We just want to make sure that the taxes are super clear. Those usually get handled during closing, but we will always make sure that we're free and clear to sell. And then, of course, road access. Like, is there actually a gate to get in? Who maintains that? And where in the rules, is the road maintenance covered? So we apply all that. Who is the power provider? What does it look like to connect? What do those costs look like? Because there's a lot of additional costs just to, even if the power is right there, you're still looking at additional costs to actually get those utilities connected. So we have power for these properties, water. So these are well-based properties. So you're going to be looking at getting a well installed. And when we went ahead and provided an alternative for you, maybe you're not ready for a well, or maybe it's something you want to do later. And in the short term, one option you can do is just store bulk water with a cistern. So that's a good option. And we always like to provide that backup option. But we'll look into the, the floodplain for you, let you know that there's minimal hazard based off of our findings. Again, always verify this information yourself, whether it's us or any other seller of land. You're going to want to verify this information. But the idea here is to give you a head start and make it a frictionless, smooth experience for buyers. And these are questions you can ask not just about our property, but any property in general. So with water, this is a rural property, and you're often going to find that there's no active water line available to you unless you're in a city or a larger town. So you're going to be looking at a well option. And we'll cover that here for you as well. Like, what does that process look like? And feel free to ask us if you're more curious. Again, same thing with sewer. You're going to need a septic system. So we've covered the process to get that. This property is a bit different in that we've actually gone ahead and already gotten a soil inspection, and we've already done a survey for this property, and all those documents are available here. So this is what it looks like. This is our new survey for these two lots. That's definitely going to be a must before you build anyways. So having that done for you is a big bonus and a big value. We also have a plat map showing the whole subdivision. And we also have a set of the covenants that apply. Pretty reasonable covenants, I would say. Sometimes they can be pretty intense, but this one's pretty reasonable. Basically, the restrictions kind of come down to a residential use. Build a house, enjoy it, have a backyard, probably have some dogs, but no industrial use, no like huge agricultural use, loud noises, things like that. But yeah, no ice fishing. Okay, don't ice fish, but pretty reasonable. So again, going forward, we cover, we try to get an idea of the cell service there, who the internet providers are. We always recommend Starlink for rural living. It's fast and it works really well. And then, of course, we summarize those building restrictions that we find in the covenants. So those are here as well. And lastly, nearby places of interest. We mentioned Sweetwater and Cordry Lakes. We also have the nearest public land where you can go, nearest town, nearest major city, nearest hospital, which is important to think about, and nearest international airport. And again, this is like my template, after doing this for 5 years, just coming up with the questions that we find most important and most relevant to buyers, and information that, you really want to know before you commit to buying the property. So we try to do that homework for you. Going back to the listing here. So if you're interested in this property specifically, we have maps available. You can look at our interactive land ID map that should load any second, and also allow you to kind of look around here. You can also turn on some different other maps, as well as use the map legend to see more information about the property, provide all of our documents available as well as directions if this is a property that you actually want to go see. But this isn't the only property like this. There's plenty of properties you can buy outside of Indianapolis. The idea is that your money is going to go farther when you're willing to drive a little bit outside of the city. And, depending on the job that you have, it may or may not be the right lifestyle for you. But I know that a lot of people who are personal contractors, or they have a shop at home, maybe a couple large vehicles, they kind of want to have that escape and also that place to store equipment, have a shop, just kind of get away from their work. And so a lot of people are living this lifestyle where they commute into the city. But in cases like this, it's really not a bad drive at all. So if this is a property that interests you, reach out to me, let me know. If you guys have any questions just about buying land in general in Indiana, or what it's like to look at these, rural lots, let me know. We always are looking at prices and comparables and sales, and we're always encountering different kinds of land. So if that's something that could be, if you have a question about, just let me know in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for watching.